Okay, so welcome to another deep dive. And, we always say this, but you guys send in some truly fascinating stuff.
Absolutely.
It makes our job pretty easy and fun. And this time around, we're going to be diving into a story of, well, incredible
Yeah.
defiance and, courage against really overwhelming odds.
Yeah, talk about an underdog story, right?
Totally.
This is, it's a classic for a reason.
It is. So we are talking about the Battle of Saragarhi, and big thanks to the listener who sent in the Wikipedia page
Yeah.
for this one. So we're going to be working off of that today, and I think it's going to be really interesting to break it down.
Absolutely. So the Battle of Saragarhi, late 19th century, and it's a small group of soldiers against this like massive
Right.
force of Afghan tribesmen. And what's crazy is how much this story still resonates, even over
So
a century later.
Yeah, so let's set the stage, right?
Yeah.
So September 12th, 1897, that's the date of the battle, and this is just before the Tiri campaign kicks off in the same area. So you've already got this backdrop of tension,
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely sets the scene.
Yeah. And the players involved, well, you've got the British Indian Empire on one side, and on the other, you've got these Afghan tribesmen,
Right.
specifically the Orakzai and Afridi groups.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the battle itself takes place in this small village called Saragarhi,
Okay.
and this is in what is now present-day Pakistan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's situated in this really mountainous region, the Samana Range,
I see.
in the Kohat district, which was right on the border.
Okay, so like a strategically important area.
Exactly. So
Uh-huh.
it wasn't like a major fortress or anything, but Saragarhi held this really unique position
Okay.
because it was this heliographic communication post.
Oh, wow. So like 19th century signaling, right?
Exactly. It was kind of their version of text messaging using sunlight and mirrors.
That's so cool. Who would have thought?
Right. It's pretty ingenious when you think
Hmm.
about it, and it was super effective before radio became widespread.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So Saragarhi, this little village, it connected two major forts
A rock art.
and Fort Gulistan,
Okay.
which were vital to the British. But here's the thing, they couldn't actually see each other directly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, crazy, right? So Saragarhi was the crucial link between them.
I see. So like the linchpin in their communication network?
Exactly. And those forts themselves have a pretty interesting history, too.
Oh, yeah. How so?
They were originally built by Ranjit Singh, who was this powerful ruler of the Sikh Empire.
Okay.
And then later on, the British came in and reinforced them, to strengthen their hold on the region.
Makes sense.
So you've got these layers of history all coming together at this one spot.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and then you have the soldiers themselves, the ones stationed at Saragarhi, and they were from the 36th Sikhs
Okay.
of the British Indian Army.
Okay.
And this is a relatively new regiment, actually formed just a few years prior in 1894.
Oh, wow.
And what's really interesting about them is that they were entirely composed of Jat Sikhs.
Oh, really? So like a specific group?
Yeah, exactly. So by August 1897, 5 companies from this regiment were deployed to this really volatile northwest frontier.
Okay.
Talk about a trial by fire.
Yeah, that's being thrown right into the thick of it.
Exactly. And this is where the bigger picture starts to come into focus.
Okay, so what else is going on?
Well, 1897 was a year of general uprising by a lot of Afghan tribes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and in the lead up to the Battle of Saragarhi between late August and early September, there was this surge in insurgent activity
I see.
and even attacks on Fort Gulistan itself.
So things are really heating up.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So because of this increased threat, the small detachment that was initially at Saragarhi, they actually got reinforcements.
Okay, so they knew something was coming.
Yeah, they were already on high alert because they'd already fought off a few earlier attacks.
Wow, so these 21 soldiers, they were already battle tested.
Right, they were in a seriously tense situation holding this critical communication link. And then, then you have the Afghans.
Okay, so how many are we talking here?
Well, the estimates vary, but somewhere between 12,000 and 24,000 Afghan tribesmen.
Whoa, hold on. 12,000 to 24,000.
That's not a typo.
That's insane. Can you even imagine?
I know, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around that kind of a mismatch.
It really is.
And these 21 soldiers, they were under the command of Havildar Ishar Singh.
Okay.
And the attack, it began around 9 a.m. on September 12th.
Okay.
And the initial wave that hit Saragarhi, they estimated it was between 6,000 and 10,000.
Wow. That's just wave one.
It's hard to even fathom.
Variously.
But here's where it gets even more incredible amidst all this chaos. Sepoy Gurmukh Singh, he manages to get a message out.
Okay, so they're still communicating.
Yeah, using the heliograph, he contacts Colonel Houghton, who was at Fort Lockhart.
Wow, so they're reporting the attack in real time.
Exactly. Can you imagine those messages?
Yeah. Yeah, the tension must have been unbelievable.
Totally. And on the other end, Colonel Houghton, he understands just how dire the situation is, but he also knows reinforcements.
Yeah.
They're not getting there in time.
Right, because of the terrain.
Exactly. And he has to send that message back to the soldiers at Saragarhi.
Oh, man, what a moment.
I know. So these 21 Sikhs, they make this unbelievable decision.
Which is?
They decide to fight to the death to hold off the enemy and protect those forts.
Wow. I mean, talk about a commitment to duty.
It's incredible. And we actually know a good deal about the battle itself because of Sepoy Gurmukh Singh's transmissions.
Oh, wow. So they were chronicling it as it happened.
Yeah, and it's just remarkable what they did.
So what happened?
Well, early on, Sepoy Bhagwan Singh, he's the first one killed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and Naik Lal Singh is seriously wounded.
Okay.
But despite this, this horrible start, Lal Singh and another Sepoy Jiwa Singh, they actually risk their own lives to bring Bhagwan Singh's body back inside the post.
That's powerful. I mean, talk about brotherhood.
Yeah, it really shows their bond. And then, well, the Afghans, they keep coming relentless waves.
Right.
And they manage to break through a section of the outer wall. And it's around this time that Colonel Houghton, based on Gurmukh Singh's signals, he estimates the attacking force.
Okay, so how many?
Somewhere between 10,000 to 14,000 Pashtuns.
I mean, even the range is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, and, the fact that it's a range that probably tells you just how chaotic the battle was.
Right, you can't exactly do a head count.
No, and apparently at some point, the Pashtun leaders, they actually try to convince the Sikhs to surrender.
Really? I mean, it's almost like they couldn't believe that they were still fighting.
Right, and I guess they figured with those numbers?
Yeah, you'd think they'd just give up.
But these Sikhs, they were bound by their military oath, their traditions of valor. They just weren't going to back down.
Wow, that's incredible.
And the source actually mentions 2 separate attempts by the Afghans to storm the gate.
Okay.
And both times they're repelled.
So they're putting up a serious fight.
Oh, yeah. Fierce resistance from the start. But eventually just the sheer weight of the Afghan numbers, it's too much.
Right.
They break through the wall.
Yeah.
And the account talks about this incredibly brutal hand-to-hand combat that followed.
I mean, can you imagine 21 soldiers?
Against thousands.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem real.
It's hard to even picture. But amidst all this, Havildar Ishar Singh, he sees how dire things are getting.
Okay.
And he orders his remaining men to fall back to the inner part of the post.
Okay.
And he stays behind to cover them.
Wow, talk about a selfless act.
It's incredible. And it bought them precious time. But tragically, once that inner layer is breached, all but one of the defenders are killed.
So just one left.
Just one. And it was Sepoy Gurmukh Singh, the signalman, the one who'd been relaying everything.
Wow, what a twist.
I know. And in his final communication, you know what he asked for?
What's that?
He asked for permission to put down his signaling equipment and pick up his rifle.
Oh, wow. He wants to join the fight.
Yeah. Even as his comrades are dying around him, his thought is to keep fighting to do his duty.
That's powerful.
It really is. So he gets permission. He dismantles the heliograph, and then he defends the signaling shed.
Wow, just him alone.
Alone. And the account says he manages to kill something like 40 Afghans before they finally set fire to the shed to overcome him.
Oh man, what an end.
And even in his final moments, he's reported to have shouted the Sikh battle cry, "Boop!" So Nihal says Sri Akal.
Oh, chills, man.
Yeah.
Absolute chills.
It's just this incredibly powerful image of defiance in the face of certain death.
It really is. And, something I think is really important to mention is the difference in weaponry.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge factor.
The Wikipedia page mentions how the Indian troops, they were given older, less advanced firearms compared to the British.
Right, and that was no accident.
Yeah, it wasn't just a random thing.
No, it was deliberate policy after the Indian Mutiny back in 1857.
Okay.
They didn't want to risk another uprising, so they kept the Indian soldiers armed with less powerful weapons.
Yeah, that's a chilling thought.
So you have these 21 men facing this massive force, and they're not even given the best equipment.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what would have happened
Right.
if they had been on an even playing field, so to speak.
Exactly. And it's interesting because the Afghan tribesmen, they weren't exactly using outdated weaponry themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had a mix of original and locally produced copies of Martini Henry rifles.
Oh, wow. So they were pretty well armed.
Yeah, and apparently there were these skilled gunsmiths in the Northwest Frontier province who were making them.
I see. So they were resourceful.
Oh, yeah. And the Adam Kilafridi clan around the Khyber Pass, They were known for this. They'd gotten their hands on British weapons from previous campaigns.
So it's like they were using the enemy's own technology against them.
Exactly. So the Sikhs, they're facing this huge force, and some of them might even have better weapons. It's just an insane situation.
It really is. So what happened after the battle at Saragarhi?
Well, after the post was destroyed, the Afghans, they moved on to Fort Gulistan.
Okay.
But the time they lost, fighting those 21 soldiers that delay it, actually proved to be crucial.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, reinforcements were able to reach Fort Gulistan just in time.
Oh, wow. So they held them off long enough.
Exactly. They saved the fort.
That's incredible. And what about the Afghans? Did they suffer heavy losses?
They did. It's hard to get exact figures, but
Okay.
they reportedly admitted to around 180 killed and many more wounded.
Okay.
And some accounts even say that when the relief force arrived at Saragarhi, they found around 600 bodies.
Wow.
But it's worth noting that they retook the fort using artillery.
Right.
So some of those casualties would have been from that.
Makes sense.
But the Afghans definitely paid a high price.
Yeah, for sure.
And 2 days later, the post was recaptured by a British Indian contingent.
Okay.
And, the bravery of those soldiers, it wasn't forgotten.
I mean, how could it be?
They actually used the burnt bricks from the destroyed post to build an obelisk as a memorial.
Oh, wow. It's powerful.
Yeah, and the British, they also built gurdwaras, which are Sikh temples in Amritsar and Firozapur in their honor.
So they were commemorated on both sides.
Exactly. And when you look at the Tower campaign as a whole, the total casualties were around 4,800.
Oh.
But it's the story of those 21 men at Saragarhi that really stands out.
Yeah, it's become legendary.
It has. And for their incredible valor, all 21 soldiers were posthumously awarded the Indian Order of Merit.
Wow. And that.
Yeah, which was the highest gallantry award an Indian soldier could receive at that time.
Yeah, so like the equivalent of today's Paramvir Chakra.
Exactly. And the British government, they also recognized their heroism.
How so?
They erected a commemorative tablet specifically honoring their unflinching courage on the field of battle.
Wow, that's a powerful tribute.
It is, and the legacy lives on even today.
Really?
Yeah, the 4th Battalion of the Sikh Regiment of the Indian Army, they commemorate the battle every year on September 12th.
Oh, wow. So they have a special day for it.
Yeah, it's called Saragarhi Day, and it's a huge part of their regimental history and identity.
That's really cool. And it goes beyond the military too, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The Battle of Saragarhi, it's become this iconic story in Eastern military history, British Empire military history, and
Right.
of course in Sikh history and tradition.
Makes sense.
And those Saragarhi memorial gurdwaras that I mentioned, they're still important places of pilgrimage and remembrance.
I see.
And there's even an epic poem that was written in their honor called Khalsa Bahadur, which means brave Sikhs.
Wow. So their story has been told and retold for over a century.
Exactly. And the Indian Armed Forces, they've actually been pushing to have this battle included in school curricula across India.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to inspire young people with the soldiers' heroism. And it's actually been taught in schools in Punjab since the year 2000.
That's amazing. So it's like a national story of courage?
Exactly. And Saragarhi Day is not just observed in India. Sikhs all over the world commemorate it on September 12th.
Really?
Yeah, with parades and educational projects, all sorts of things.
Just a global commemoration.
It is, and it's really interesting to see how it's been remembered in the UK, too.
Oh, yeah? How so?
Back in 2001, Viscount Slim, who was a pretty prominent military figure, he gave a whole lecture on the battle. And then in 2002, there was an exhibition about Saragarhi that really brought the story to a wider audience.
I see.
And then a book came out in 2013 that kind of reignited interest in the UK.
Okay.
And that actually led to the British Armed Forces starting their own annual commemorations.
Wow. So they recognize its significance even though it was Indian soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. And you even have senior UK government ministers and high-ranking generals paying tribute to this battle.
That's really powerful.
It is. And then just a few years ago, in 2021, they unveiled a memorial statue of Havildar Ishar Singh in Wolverhampton in the UK.
Wow. So there's a physical reminder of their sacrifice.
Exactly. And the story's impact goes even beyond that. It's found its way into popular culture, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There was a documentary in 2017 called Saragarhi, The True Story, and then a TV series in 2018 called 21 Sarfarosh Saragarhi, 1897.
Okay.
And then there was this big Hindi film, Kasari, that came out in 2019, which was a huge commercial success.
Yeah, I saw that one. It was really good.
It was, and it really brought the story to a whole new audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely keeps their memory alive.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Battle of Saragarhi, what are some of the things that stand out to you?
Oh, man, where do I even start? I mean, the sheer bravery
Uh,
of those 21 soldiers against those insane
yeah.
odds. And they knew no help was coming. They knew they were going to die, but they still fought.
It's hard to imagine.
And the fact that Gurmukh Singh kept sending those messages right up until the end, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it gives us this incredibly detailed and human account of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the big takeaways are like understanding how important that little communication post actually was,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
and the level of courage they showed, the fact that they were basically using outdated weapons and still held off the enemy for so long,
Yeah.
and then how this battle is still remembered all over the world, over a century later.
Yeah. It's a testament to their sacrifice.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners out there, as you think about this story, what resonates most with you?
Yeah, what stands out? When you're facing your own challenges, maybe not on the scale of a battle, but challenges nonetheless.
Right. We all have them.
Can the spirit of Saragarhi offer some perspective,
Mm.
about resilience,
Yeah.
about commitment, about the strength of the human spirit, even when things seem impossible?
Yeah. That's a powerful thought. And it makes me wonder, we have this incredibly detailed account of the battle because of those heliograph messages.
Right.
But today we have all this advanced technology, instant video and audio streaming.
Yeah.
How would that change things if something like Saragarhi happened today? Would that instant, unfiltered information change how we understand and remember these events?
That's a really interesting question.
And how would it affect our reactions? Would it make us more or less likely to act?
Something to think about, for sure.
Definitely.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah, lots to ponder.
As always, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And keep those sources coming.
We'll be back soon with another one.
See you then.
Bye.